Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1051A, and today's date is August 17th, 2016, and the title of the episode is, Will the U.S. Dollar Begin Its Collapse This Fall? Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we can see, more and more corporations, they're laying off thousands upon thousands of people. It's not just hundreds of people anymore. We're getting to a point in time where we're going to see more corporations come forward where they're going to be laying off a lot more people. Cisco announced that they're going to be cutting between 9,000 to 14,000 jobs worldwide. And that's seasonally adjusted. It's about 20,000 people. And that is a lot of people. Because if you really think about it, since the beginning of this year, we've had hundreds of thousands of people lose their job. But the claims, they're at all-time lows. I guess everyone losing their jobs, they're just finding jobs very quickly. Well, how can they? Because if you really think about it, when a tech company lays off, other tech companies are laying off, where do the people go? When financial companies are laying off, other financial companies are laying off, where do the people go? This is why we see a huge part-time economy appearing right now, because many people can't find that job. They're taking 1, 2 part-time jobs. And we also have to remember the BLS counts that as 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 full-time jobs. So if somebody has 2 or 3 part-time, they have about 2 or 3 full-time jobs. And this is how they manipulate everything. But what we're seeing is retail giants like Target, they're slashing their earning estimates. Now, this is really not a shock. We realize that the retail industry is suffering. It is contracting, declining. And we can see right now, they're blaming this on a challenging environment in the back half of this year. It's funny how they don't want to admit the economy is their problem. First, it was the weather, too snowy, too sunny. They can't use that excuse anymore because every time the earnings come out, every time the sales report comes out, it's continually declining. So what do you say? Because it's sunny all the time, this is why retail sales are failing. It's cold out, this is why retail sales are failing. That excuse no longer works. But they can't blame it on the economy. So they have to make they have to think of other ways of explaining away why this is happening. And they use terms like challenging environment, which really means the economy is failing. We see Apple products, which normally does very, very well, they're having troubles. Their sales are down 20% in the second quarter. This just goes to show you that it's hitting every company. Now, what's very interesting is that Home Depot, they came out and said, sales are incredible. Look, home ownership must be fantastic. People must be buying houses because the sales in Home Depot are up. And then we see Lowe's, on the other hand, where their sales are declining. We have two opposite things happening right now. If the housing industry is so incredible, why aren't both showing an improvement? Why only one store? It's very odd. But when we look at the real estate market, and this is very important because people gauge how they're doing in the economy by how housing is doing. And the U.S. government central bankers, they realize this. They understand this is what people look at. If people see housing prices dropping, their investments being chipped away, everyone gets nervous. What's going on with the economy? If housing prices are moving up, people believe that the economy is still strong. Well, we're seeing a lot of problems. Usually when the housing prices are moving up so quickly, we have problems where it's called a bubble. When we see housing prices moving up in certain areas only, that is a control bubble, and that is by the central bank. And this is exactly what we're seeing, because every single area is not seeing prices increase. Actually, Case-Shiller, the United States government central bankers, look at around 20 cities. They can control about 20 cities, but they can't control the entire country. It's very, very difficult to do that. And this is why we see a discrepancy in certain areas where we see, if we look at San Francisco, we see prices going up. If we look at another area in the United States, we see prices moving downward because they can't control the area and they only report on those areas that they can control, showing you and trying to prove to you that the real estate market is doing well. But back in June, we listed many different warnings that the housing market is slowing and falling apart. Now, RealityTrack Senior Vice President Darren Bloomquist, well, he was out there saying that there are problems in the housing market. Now, he referred to house flipping by third-party investors, and this was back, but there's a problem. The share of foreclosures snapped up by inexperienced mom-and-pop buyers at auction had hit a record 31% in June. He said this is a redo of what we saw back in 2007 going into 2008. The second warning came as a result of the latest sharp decline in spending on furniture and home goods stores, which we are seeing. The third warning, that came out from Credit Suisse. And they surveyed real estate agents, and they said, yes, traffic is drying up. And we're not seeing the same traffic that we've seen before. Well, today has gotten a lot worse. Sales at home goods stores, well, they're continually weak. And they're not improving. Actually, the sales at furniture stores are continually dropping. Second, Credit Suisse, their survey of real estate agents for July, found even more of the same disappointing trends, noting that there was no bounce in traffic since June. Actually, it has declined and has gotten worse. So what they looked at is 40 different markets. 29 of those 40 markets that were surveyed, some of them are Portland, Seattle, New York, they experienced sharp declines. Texas, Austin, deteriorating. San Antonio, Dallas, Florida markets remain depressed right now. There's weakness in Miami, Fort Myers, Sarasota. California was dragged down by lower readings in Los Angeles, San Diego. It is spreading right now. And the other thing that they've warned is that, and this is coming from the Mortgage Bankers Association, reported that mortgage demand to buy homes just hit a new 6-month low despite mortgage rates hovering near all-time lows. This shows you that we are in big trouble. We see the Baltic Dry Index. It is at 685 points right now. This is very low at this time of year. We're usually around 900, 1100. This is the raw material that factories use. And we know right now as retail continually contracts, well, I know coming into the holiday season, but this holiday season is going to be worse than the previous holiday season. We're going to see more stores close down. And these raw materials, they're not going to be needed. Factory orders, manufacturing is going to decline because the people, as we move into this holiday season, they don't have jobs to go out and purchase goods for the holidays. Credit cards are maxed out. Spending is declining. It's not going to improve. And many more stores are going to be closing down. We see global central banks. For the first 6 months of this year, they have sold 192 billion of U.S. Treasury bonds, more than double the pace in the same period last year. So China, Japan, France, Brazil, Colombia, they led the pack. And they're selling off a huge amount of U.S. debt. Why? Because they realize the dollar will be collapsing. They don't want to hold on to this debt. So they're getting rid of it right now. We know that the World Bank approves China to issue SDRs. We know that the yuan is going to be included in the SDR basket this fall. So let's think about this for a second. We have the World Bank approving China to issue SDRs. Now, this did not come from the United States. So we have a separate entity giving permission to China to do this. We have the yuan renminbi being included in the basket of SDRs. And we have this perfect storm coming up this fall. Think about it. China, the yuan is going to be included. They can issue SDRs. We have the elections coming up. The economy is collapsing very, very quickly. The U.S. is provoking war all over the place. The United States is losing their hold in Syria, in Iraq, throughout the Middle East. When we look at all of this, we see everything ramping up all at once. And all of this is going to hit when? This fall. So the question is this the beginning of the collapse of the dollar? It could be, because we're seeing all of this happen at once. Now, will it happen all at once? No. But it will start to happen. And things will then ramp up, and they'll accelerate. And of course, the U.S. government will be out there trying to explain away why this is happening. They did this in the beginning of the fiat system back in 1971. Gold speculators, we have to temporarily take our entire system off the gold standard. We had a shortage of oil. This is when they were trying to make a deal with the Middle Eastern nations to get us on the petrodollar. That whole thing was a complete lie. Everything started to increase in price, housing, food. This was inflation because we came off the gold standard. The dollar was being devalued. They had to readjust people's earnings. Interest rates were very high at this time. Now we're on the opposite end. Interest rates are zero. Many places they're negative. They're going to be going negative. Wages are falling, not increasing. And once we come off the petrodollar system and we have all this debt and there's another currency ready to replace the dollar, what happens? Well, the entire system, the way we know it, really comes to an end. The dollar no longer exists, maybe in a different form. Many people have different theories. Could be two different dollars, one international, one domestic, but it will be devalued. Other people saying that the SDR will be the paper currency. Other people saying that yuan, backed by gold, might be the next reserve currency. But the outcome is still the same. The way of life here in the United States is going to change completely. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.